Twice a year, every year, a large portion of us have been collectively lying to ourselves about what the time is, in some places by law. A primal requirement to have more light for longer. But why? What purpose does this actually serve? Who started all of this and why? Was it the farmers? The military? Some shadowy cabal of deep state operatives hell-bent on creating confusion and distress every year for reasons unknowable to us? Was it Ben Franklin? In 1784, he penned a satirical essay to the Journal of Paris, which outlined a scathing assessment of Parisians' inability to know that the sun begins shining the moment it rises. He had some recommendations, one of my favourites being suggesting that they fire cannons at dawn. No. It was a bug-obsessed post office clerk in Wellington, New Zealand. I'm Frank the Magpie, and you're listening to Frankly Historical, a short weekly podcast where I do a quick dive into something in history that fascinates me in some way. Join me this week as we take a brief look into the origins of daylight savings time. George Hudson was born on the 20th of April in 1867. As one of 6 children, his life started in typical late 1800s fashion, avoiding infancy and childhood death statistics like Neo, and somehow landing the genetic lottery to now avoid winding up dead of some kind of easily preventable illness. By the age of 9, he was collecting insects with his older brother, wandering around their little slice of paradise in London. By the age of 13, George, being an industrial young man, had already published a paper in the Entomologist, a journal for serious collectors the world over. In 1881, George's family moved to New Zealand, a town called Nelson in the South Island. He was 14, but even at this young age he didn't stay long before striking out on his own to earn his keep. 2 years later, in 1883, he started as a cadet at the Wellington Post Office. The irony, shift work of all things, and it gave him a very irregular free time schedule, making him acutely aware of the hours of light available to him. You see, Hudson had a problem, a serious problem. The summer evenings were simply too short to collect bugs after he finished his shift. On the 16th of October, 1895, Hudson presented a paper to the Wellington Philosophical Society. His argument for shifting clocks forward 2 hours, not just 1, during the summer. The society responded with polite bafflement, claims of humans are not far advanced enough, and impractical, and altering a system used for 1,000 years were thrown around. He filed this disappointment away and carried on catching bugs. He did have a small pocket of supporters in Christchurch, however. Jump forward 12 years, 1907, and a man named William Willett, living in England, independent of Hudson, proposed daylight savings time. A builder, golfer, a man of high standing in the community. His motivation was similarly leisure-oriented as was Hudson's. However, for Willett, it was all about the golf. More hours of light, more golf. Quite simple. Why had no one thought of this before? What mere mortals there were. Willett's idea got serious political backing. Among his supporters he could include Churchill and Lloyd George. However, Britain still rejected the idea. The world was still not ready for this futuristic idea of shifting the clocks slightly to gain more productive light time. Hudson was first, Willett was louder, and of course the man with the money and political pull got more traction. However, neither of these two would end up being the trigger. World War I breaks out. Chaos ensues. Wartime measures in munition production means that a large amount of coal is being burned daily just to keep the lights on in the evening. Everyone around the world was feeling the crunch at this point. Among things such as the MP3, the first modern welfare state, gummy bears, invention and first use of nerve agents to fuel the Holocaust, a horrific movement that scarred the world, Germany was the first nation to adopt daylight savings time. April 30, 1916. Germany adopted daylight savings time as a wartime efficiency method, decreasing power used for lighting and heating and saving coal where needed. Within weeks, Britain, France, and others were rapidly following suit. Thanks to a bullet fired 2 years earlier and not bug catching or golf, the world adopted daylight savings time quickly, efficiently, and without complaint. Funny that. Willett had died in 1915, sadly not being able to see his genius idea come to fruition. Hudson, however, lives to see his genius idea implemented. However, it isn't until 1933 that he's recognised by becoming the first recipient, along with Ernest Rutherford, of the T.K. Sidey Medal. He got to see his idea flourish and take flight around the world, to confuse and annoy generations to come. Jump forward to now. 70 countries still observe daylight savings time, and about 140 don't. Even in some countries that do observe it, there's inconsistencies. Arizona doesn't, but most of the rest of the USA does. Parts of Australia do, some don't. Indiana didn't until 2006, and there was genuine outrage about it. Most of the dates don't sync up, so for a period of time throughout the year, countries are even more out of step than usual. In the first 2 days after the spring forward, stroke rates rise by about 8%. The week following the shift, car accidents increase by about 6%. Hospitals reported an 11% increase in depressive symptoms just after the fall switch. Even the original justification, energy reduction, not bug collecting or golf, is essentially gone. We're demolishing any light savings by using air cooling and heating systems that still burn electricity. Even worse, seemingly since the dawn of time, everyone has claimed and blamed the farmers for the time shift. Everyone assumed, for some reason, that it was to help them. They have historically been very opposed to it, especially in the US, where multiple farming groups have lobbied since its implementation to have it repealed. The real lobbyists behind daylight savings time? It's not bug catchers, it's not golfers, not farmers, and not even the Germans. No. According to Quartz, department stores and Big Candy are the main pushers of daylight savings time. Now, as longer daylight hours mean more time spent shopping, on the golf course, catching bugs, all endeavours that fuel various markets. George Hudson's bug problem just became someone else's profit margin. The world slipped into a confused and muddled routine that causes chaos and international rebellion every year, but to this day, no one seems to be able to agree on what we should do or why we should do it. Multiple options, various reasons, and all the while, George Hudson, for the remainder of his life, was able to hunt for bugs after he finished work. He may not have successfully started the movement, but thanks to German efficiency, aggressive wars, the department store lobby, and Big Candy, he got to live out his dream. With more countries moving away from daylight savings, and more people yearly complaining about the disruptions, maybe it's time that we gently laid George Hudson's dream to bed. Thanks to everyone for listening, and a big thank you to Spectrum Branch and community for the help with feedback. Please like, subscribe, and share, and feel free to comment with any crazy moments in history you think I should know about. Join me next time where I follow two paths to ending World War II that were slightly unorthodox.